So, Eric, let's talk a little bit about where we are with this whole comparison. I said it at the top of the segment. We're hearing a lot of people compare the run that Cody's on to the run that John Cena had. Cena has become a big topic, of course, because he's announced he's doing his retirement tour. Next year is going to be his last year in the wrestling biz. And there's even some debate. Will they do this story about him chasing number 17? He, of course, in storyline is tied with Ric Flair. Would you put over the next year and change, would you put John Cena in the title picture and would you have him stand across the ring from Cody Rhodes?
That would not be, that's not an easy answer at all. Because a lot of thought would have to go into that before you could say, sure, I'd do that. I would have to that would take me weeks to wrap my head around because there's so many implications. Not only what can I achieve, that's fun and exciting because you're just projecting success, and who doesn't want to do that? But there's the other side of that. There's the missed opportunities, meaning the creative opportunities that could have been there had you not placed all your bets or your biggest bet on Cody Cena. So you got to try to evaluate the potential of those missed opportunities as well. And then it's like, where does it go after that? We know when one of them goes after that. But if Cody's going to be around for a while, how would that story play out for Cody? And it's not as obvious as people, well, yeah, but John Cena's passing the torch. Okay, you can have that one and go read the dirt sheet. If it's, first of all, Cena's a legend. Cena doesn't have the Ric Flair problem, meaning nobody wants to see him as a heel. But he knows what it feels like. He's had those thoughts, right? Nobody wants to see that. I'm sure there were times in John's career where he contemplated turning heel, and I'm sure part of him knew that probably, in some respects, that would have been great, but not long term. So if the audience is not going to want to see Cena go out as a heel, I don't think. Same Ric Flair, he's got Ric Flairitis. People love him too much. He's been around too long. He represents too much of their childhood. They do not want to see their childhood hero at this stage of their 30s or their 40s or whatever they are. They do not want to see the guy that they're putting up there with, the wrestling version of Babe Ruth, and now he's going to turn heel and beat up the catcher. No, I just don't see it. And for that reason, how does that, if they're not going to do that, that means they're going to do something else. And if that something else is Cody beating John Cena in a straight up babyface match, does that really do anything for Cody? Isn't it already expected from the perspective of, well, that's how business is done? Yes, generally, typically, historically, sure. But is that what's best? So I don't know. It would take a lot of analysis. You'd have to hear people pitch it both ways. If I was faced with this decision, I would, if I had two creative team, or if I had one creative team, I'd split them up. You're going to pitch me Cena. You're going to pitch me Cody. And let's start talking about it and really trying to visualize it, backed up with a little information and data, research to help support. That's what I would do. But I couldn't answer that right now. Whew.
Hypothetically, I know we're fantasy booking and you don't like that, but hypothetically, if we put the belt on Gunther and Gunther goes on a dominant tear, and now he becomes our Ivan Drago, John Cena could play a heck of a Rocky Balboa challenging Gunther for the world title at some point.
Ooh, Conrad, that's so good.
Wouldn't that be good?
That is so good. I mean, what is professional wrestling really? Well, we know what it is. Well, everybody has a different opinion of what it is. But when I look at the professional wrestling genre, no company, category. And when I look at where video games are, WWE is a real life version of a video game.
No doubt.
And the fact that we were just talking about WWE talent like Cody spinning off into other formats in the same genre, in this case, Call of Duty, only goes to the mainstream cross-promotional opportunities that are going to only continue to grow under TKO, primarily because of Ari and everybody on that side of the equation, as well as Nick Khan. That acquisition is going, we're seeing the tip of that iceberg right now. And what'll be fun is when you start seeing, especially with AI coming around the corner, oh, that's going to be fun. This is now, it's like, oh man, I wish I was in the wrestling business now, because I'd be an intern on that duty, right? Finding ways to integrate AI in a very futuristic way, a year from now, 2 years from now, 3 years from now. Now, what can I do now? What am I going to be able to do 2 years from now? And let's start planning for that and working backwards. But if you can imagine the kind of cross promotion that's going to exist between other cross promotions like the one we just talked about and wrestling, because they're really the same thing. Wow. So much opportunity. This is a great time to be in the wrestling business, man.
It's a great time. And it's a fun time for us to talk about these hypotheticals. Like we all know, eventually Roman Reigns is coming back. And you've made it clear that if it were up to you, you wouldn't bring him back at SummerSlam. But hypothetically, when Roman does come back, I think we both agree he's going to come out to a huge ovation. He's going to be positioned as a babyface upon return. Would you agree?
You know what's so interesting? Yes, I do agree. But you know what's so interesting about that is he won't really change character.
But yes.
He's going to come out walking, talking, appearing in every way, consciously, subconsciously, and cosmically. He's going to be the same character as he is when he left. And that's badass. I would normally slap a motherfucker that said that to me, because it's so stupid to be able to say that, but it's unique. And in this case, it's true. And one of the challenges that I used to have with Roman as a heel is I needed to see Roman as a heel. I saw Roman as a guy I wished I was. I saw a guy that I aspired to subconsciously. I wish I looked like Roman Reigns. I wish I had that physique. I wish I had that ability in the ring professionally. I wish I could walk into a room and command the presence that someone like Roman Reigns commands, not because he's intimidating, because he has this look and the charisma to go with it. So how do I look at a guy like that and dislike him, or hope that he fails, or hope that he gets beat? I can't. I want to be him. If I was 14 years old right now, I'd be growing my hair long and painting my little goatee on. That's, man. But now, because of the bloodline storyline and the just either by intention, by design, or default, that has become the template for professional wrestling for generations going forward from a storytelling perspective. There are going to be derivatives of the bloodline storyline that my grandson will be hearing about later in life. But because it was done so well, Roman's going to be able to come right back and be the exact same guy, only this time they'll be cheering him on. They'll feel about him the way I've felt about him from the beginning. They're going to want to be him. They're going to live vicariously through that character. The same way that people live vicariously through the characters that they most enjoy watching in movies. The same way they felt about Tom Cruise and Maverick Top Gun. They wish they could be that guy. And he already is. This is awesome.
Do you think that it's going to be a challenge? Because you dealt with this before in WCW where it was too crowded at the top. You almost had too many top guys. How can you feature them all? Do you think you're going to need to separate Roman Reigns and Cody Rhodes, like put one on SmackDown and the other on Raw, sort of thing? Will they sort of overshadow or compete, or will one feel less than? Is there a risk to putting them both on the same show, or do you think you should keep them separate until it's time? Or what lessons can you share with us from having maybe too many top guys?
I'm literally trying to imagine being in that position. My go-to instinct, and this is like, okay, somebody just threw a grenade. I'm going to get in my foxhole. I'm going to duck first, and I'll worry about what I'm going to do next, as long as I don't die. That's the kind of response I'm going to give you. I'd keep them separate until I had time to think through a plan that made sense to put them on the same show. But keeping them apart initially, in my opinion, gives me the luxury of time to plan. And that planning process, that decision-making process would take months, because you'd have to listen to a lot of really good scenarios. And some of those good scenarios or potential stories in and of themselves may not be the answer, but they lead to something else that's a derivative of it. But then you got to go back and rework it. So it's just such a time-consuming process. If I had to make a decision quickly, it would be separate.
SaveWithConrad.com.
I'm Nick Castillo from Waterville, Ohio. I've listened to several of his podcasts for a few years and have always heard the ads for Save with Conrad. And my wife and I were looking to refinance, and we had looked into a couple different options. And then I had remembered one of the ads and contacted you guys, and here we are. We had some debt that we accumulated, and we wanted to pay it down, get everything in under a much better, more manageable APR. So smooth. I've never had anything finance go that easy. We got a chance to work with Francis and Larry. They made everything comfortable. They were very personable. They were on top of everything. They made sure we were on top of everything. They were with us every step of the way, kind of guiding us. So like I said, I've never had an experience that went that smooth. Right off the bat, we saved at least $250 a month. Within a couple of months, we'll probably be at the 400 to 500 mark a month. I'm Nick Castillo from Waterville, Ohio, and I've saved over $400 a month with SaveWithConrad.com.
NMLS number 32416, equal housing lender, SaveWithConrad.com.